Our suggestion that memories have been removed prior to 6,000 BC, all memories were removed. That's why we can't remember about the Sphinx and how it was built. That's why we don't know how the pyramid was built. We once knew, and I think in your inner core, those who look at the Sphinx or the pyramids know, I understand the explanation of the scientists. I know that it sounds outrageous, but I also know that some star beings created it. I'm going to offer what I suggest is very strong evidence to prove that mankind's mind has been erased. Those of you who were listening last night, indulge me for a moment, but it is my suggestion that in the course of evolution, we can find evidence that if an organism, if an animal, if any creature on our planet develops an organ, and if it is not used, it will atrophy and it will fall away. For example, a grasshopper is not going to grow an extra leg that it does not use. It will simply die away. A cow is not going to develop a second stomach if it does not use it. Evolution, natural evolution, suggests no organ can survive non-use. Yet we have an interesting quandary. Scientists, biologists, physiologists, psychologists, all sorts of ologists realize and have agreed on the agreed on the conclusion that mankind as a whole does not use over 90% of the human brain. You generally use less than 10% of the brain. If that were true, then natural evolution would demand that the brain would atrophy, that it would wither, and that it would only be as large as that portion used. I suggest this is evidence that our minds have been tampered with. Only a few thousand years have passed since this radical termination of our memories. It is insufficient time for the brain to atrophy. However, it is enough time that each of us carries this lingering doubt, this vague, haunting memory that we recognize the hieroglyphs, that we recognize the symbols in the crop circles, and that we recognize the petroglyphs hidden away in the deserts of the world. Our suggestion is that just a few thousand years ago, our memories were removed. And as a result, there is a hidden history of our planet. There are hidden lines of families and power structures that existed 10,000 years ago. They are there today. Earlier I suggested that if the stories, if the research and the works of other authors, other researchers is true, if our evolution, if our religions, if our lives were affected by extraterrestrials thousands of years ago, where are they now? And the answer is simple. They have never gone away. We have simply forgotten how to see them. Most individuals can go out into nature, they can go out into the forest or the desert, and they can take a look at a bird and they can recognize it as an owl or a crow or a wren or a hawk. But it takes an individual who has done his or her homework to be able to recognize one kind of hawk from another. How many of you can tell the difference between a great horned owl, the great smoky owl, the barn owl? Only those who have studied and can tell the difference. Most of our religions, most of our early societies suggest that we are created in the image of the divinity. We are created in the image of the star beings. Many of the primitive societies suggest we are created in the same form as our ancestors who came from the stars. The reason that we do not recognize them is that we look just like they do. We have simply forgotten those tiny little details that make the difference. I am also suggesting that in the program where the memories were erased, that another program was put into the human brain, the human computer. We have been programmed to forget. We have been programmed to accept. We have been programmed not to challenge and not to question the powers that be. It is part of a wired system, the software that is put into your computer. I suggest it is also why when you hear the proclamations of an institution, when you hear the decrees of government, when you hear the commandments of religions, you want to believe, you would truly like to believe that there is someone out there on your side. But somehow, deep down, you have doubts. There's something missing. I believe that the institutions of our planet are well populated with people who have good intention, people who really want to make a difference. But somehow, something always goes wrong. And in order to survive and take care of their families, they allow travesties, they allow things that as a young and very avid crusader, they wouldn't have done it back then. But as they get older, they get tired. They get frustrated. Change is very difficult. The institutions of this planet, I'm going to suggest again, are billions of years old, and they are extraordinarily difficult to overcome. We are programmed to fail. We are programmed not to see the truth. Last night, I gave an example of the difference, of the solution to the opposite of tall. I asked the listeners what the opposite of tall was. The accepted response is short. And without getting into the explanation, allow me to suggest, in a very primitive and savage way of thinking, that the opposite of tall is deep, not short. For that argument, I would have you call tomorrow, if you would. Call my family. They'll be happy to present you with some material. We're going to come to the end of the first hour here in a moment, but I want to again thank Rod Remlin, Dave Hinkson, the American Freedom Radio Network. I want to thank Ivy West. I want to thank my wife and my daughter who have been with me during the ups and downs of trying to tell this story. I'm extraordinarily proud of my crew, of Mike, Richard, Karen, Kathy, Kat, of Debbie and Becca, and numerous people, Jean up in California, Karma, Ernie. There are so many people that have assisted us in our research, and I want to thank all of them. If some of you are disturbed by what we have said to this point, I suggest it's time to go to the pay-per-view, HBO, or catch the rest of the Olympics, because it's going to get even more disturbing. For those of you who are interested and would like to find out more about our books, you can reach us at area code 602-404-8050. I'm going to encourage you to let Mr. Remlin know how you feel about the program. I understand he has had a good, long career, and most of you have been supportive of his efforts, and we have to thank him. But please let him know how you feel about our program. Give us a call in the morning. If you would like some more information, it's area code 602-404-8050. We have several books. The one which we have released just recently is on, we entitled it The Second Coming Conspiracy. In the last hour of this program, I am going to suggest to you that the powers that be are preparing to stage a second coming, that on the world scene, prophecies will be fulfilled, a divinity will be proclaimed, and the Son of God, his return, will be staged. I believe it is a false prophet, a false Messiah. Some of you may say this is the confirmation of the revelations of the Antichrist. In essence, I believe that's true. However, I will also in the same breath suggest to you that if time permits, I believe there is an imminent return of the divinity, of the extraterrestrials, of the powers in heaven that we refer to as divine, and I suggest that the prophecies of the Hopi, the Aborigine, the Egyptian, the Sumerian, and many of the primitive societies of this world, I suggest that they're coming true. In the last hour, I would like to also talk about the crop circles and their message and how they fulfill prophecy, the petroglyphs, and numerous ancient stories that are coming to light to, in essence, support the coming of the Messiah. Please accept none of what I have proposed to you. Please challenge, please question. I offer these works. They are documented. They are researched. We offer you sources. We are suggesting that mankind has been manipulated by extraterrestrials, that he has been deceived and he has been cheated of his true destiny. As radical as that might sound, substitute divinity. It is my suggestion that we have been misled and cheated by the divinity. I believe we have not been permitted to achieve our destinies.